So, good morning, everybody. I'll just confirm that there's a quorum here. I see that Chris is here, Joyce is here, I'm here, John's here, and Chuck is here, and the quorum for 6 is 4. So we can entertain a motion to start the meeting.
Oh, so moved.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. All right, I put roll call of voting members. I wasn't sure if Chris was going to be on Zoom. We don't need to do that. And Cynthia's here, introduction of others, and no one else is here for the meeting.
Hi, this is a Council on Aging meeting?
Yes, it is. Welcome.
Hi.
Lady Ann?
So, the first item is to review and approve of the February 27th, 2023 meeting minutes.
Motion to approve as read.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great, thank you for documenting those, Chris.
My pleasure.
Update and discussion of the Friends of the Newbury Council on Aging joint meeting March 9th. Good morning, Damon.
Good morning, sorry I'm late.
Not to worry.
That's true dedication, once again.
I agree. All right, so Cindy and I met with Kate and with Deb on March 9th to discuss, it was our joint meeting. And let's see. We went through their financials. I made the point once again that there were lucrative interest rates available, much greater than what the Friends have their money invested in. I think their CDs paid, their checking account pays 0.05%, and their CDs are 0.01%, 2 or 3 of them. And I said, you know, honestly, I gave them an example of a Capital One 360 performance account, savings account, an online savings account that I transferred money to. And I told them that the interest I got in 1 month was greater than what they collect on $100,000 plus. Okay, so extend that for a year. And my point was, you could be gaining $3,000 or more of interest. That's much more than fundraisers that you've had in the past 5 or 6 years. And you know, you'd be sitting at your kitchen table and not doing a darn thing to raise that money. Just to let the money work for itself. And there are better rates than that around too, and I'm sure if they went to the bank where most of their money is invested, they could probably discuss getting a better rate right there, not doing anything extraordinary. Cindy had to excuse herself because she had a meeting after she downloaded to them the content of activity of what we were doing at the council. And those meetings tend to be more of us updating them than rather than vice versa. So I was one-on-one after that, and one-on-two, I should say, I guess. There was an appeal in the Newburyport Daily News looking for new members for the Friends of the Newbury Council on Aging. And we'll see how that goes. They advertised on their financial sheet that they had a donation, which was interesting. We kind of asked who that person was, and we didn't. They couldn't tell us. They wouldn't tell us.
They were going to send me an email, but I haven't received that.
An email that's, yeah, in transit still. So Cindy and I do have an interview with someone at 12 to 12:30 this afternoon who's interested in joining the Friends. So we said we'd still try to help them. And Kate said to me, why don't you consider leaving this board or this group of voting members and join the Friends? And I'm not sure I want to do that. Okay. And that was about it. I think they discussed I gave you some dates for future meetings with them.
Yeah, so I believe one of the dates was when we are having, I was having an event that day, so
Yeah.
I have to write back to them and say,
Yeah, yeah,
unfortunately, I
yeah.
can't make that.
So those dates are tentative. And,
But they also have an annual meeting coming up in June.
right, by their bylaws, their annual meeting has to happen in June, and that's when they do what we do. They'll vote on election of officers. I mean, there are only two people in the board right now. One's the president, Kate's the president, and Deb is the vice president, treasurer, and secretary, I guess.
I know she's the treasurer and secretary, I think they just don't have a vice
Oh,
president.
they don't have a vice president, okay, so.
But there's technically 4 votes.
So when they vote, I mean, when they vote to approve their minutes, a quorum for 2 is 2, so it has to be 100% approval for everything they vote on, I guess. Well, I don't guess, that's the way it is. And that's essentially what happened at that discussion. I don't think I left anything out.
I thought they had said that they were going to reach out to the bank. I thought Kate mentioned that they were gonna look into some other option.
Yeah, you're right. And they did ask about the van. When was our new van gonna arrive? And I said I would talk to Cindy about it and send them an email, which I did like that day, and told them it would be in the fall.
We're
Kate
hoping
was
for
gonna,
September.
Kate suggested that we reach out to some federal program, I think called ABLE, something like that. You can get a grant to have someone work for you or with you, you can train them, and the government will pay for that money. And she said she'd email the details to me, and that email is in the wires as well. It's not, I've not received it.
Was that for our board or theirs?
For the Council on Aging itself. Okay? Council on Aging itself. And there was no mention of any fundraising activity.
No, I did get initially an email inquiring about when our next newsletter was going to be going out. They wanted to put in an appeal letter. So let them know we have an April-May newsletter. And then I got an email back saying, never mind, we're gonna mail it ourselves. So I don't know what they have for a mailing list or who that's going to, or when it's going. Or the content of the letter.
Okay.
We'll find out.
So if anybody gets a letter, let me know, 'cause
Yeah, I
I'd like to know.
have some homework to find out about what population are they gonna send that to.
Right, because there was some discussion that they were going to send it to, not the 60+ that I mail our newsletter to, but to a younger crowd. And I believe they had reached out to the town clerk to get a mailing list, but I'm not sure where they're sending it to.
Yeah, I mean, the town booklet discloses people's names, whether they're a registered voter, and their year of birth. I suppose if it's in Excel, you could sort it by year of birth and figure out who's not as old as we are, I guess.
But don't you think it makes sense to go to the expanded letter, the expanded
It
list?
does.
That's why, that's my
That was their
homework.
theory,
That's my homework.
but I'm not
assignment.
sure that's where it's actually going. It's-
You know, it's just,
I would assume they could have done both.
Right. I mean, I don't know, postage wise and, printing wise, they were gonna have the letter printed at Minuteman or whatever, a printing company, so I don't know what their costs would be. and what
That
they would-
essentially is what they said they were gonna do with mailing of 2,200 letters in the fall.
Mhm.
That never happened. I don't think.
I don't believe so.
No.
I don't think so,
Yeah.
no. Okay, so, whatever.
We should consider expanding our list dramatically into every household in the 3 villages, Plum Island, Old Town, Byfield, and make sure that there's a measure of discussion and appeal to each category of age group. I mean, the whole town has a stake in COA,
Mhm.
and there probably would be a broader membership and volunteer group if they knew more of who you are and what we do.
Okay, the next agenda item, you jumped to the gun already. Presentation of members' 3 ideas to boost participation in council on aging activities. So I put down that John Ferrara just disclosed his first idea out of 3.
I was just thinking that.
You want to continue?
Well, the idea too is just I've been an advocate and a spokesman for COA at 2 entities here in the village, and that's getting Cindy connected to 2 very quality individuals that can help us out. One at Governor's Academy for recreation and hopefully invitation as a guest rather than as a renter, and then connecting Cindy with somebody who can bring some expertise into caregivers care, which is an element of so many of the local COAs, and that's Allison, who's going to visit with Cindy and her staff tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
So 2 introductions plus pounding on the table for an expanded list. And I have a 4th, and that's that I have a prejudice beyond repair that we begin to get the town mayor and the building committees to begin to consider where 25 High Road is such a hotbed for discussion that we begin to get our voice heard regarding a potential location on Lunt Street in conjunction with the library. It's land there that could beautifully facilitate a COA permanent home in a safe location with plenty of parking.
Which is a good idea, and it's really going to be driven by the fact that our lease at 12 Kent Way is going to expire when the ARPA funds run out and stop paying for the lease. At that point in time, the town would have to pay the lease out of the town's annual budget, or find a different home for the Council on Aging. I know that there was some stuff in the newspaper, some writing in the newspaper about a suggestion that rather than have a town hall move to 25 High Road, just use some money to refurbish it and move the Council on Aging to 25 High Road. And I'm not going to say whether I'm for that or against that, but it's just one of the mindsets of the people today, the public today. Okay, I did get a response from Susan. And her idea was to outreach to individual residents, send a did you know letter, and invite people to come in for a tour and more information. It's kind of what you said, John. Offer a member, someone already participating in events, to bring a friend to an event, which is, a great idea. I think, personally,
We encourage that all the time.
personal approach. I'd like to tell people, why don't you come to the Council on Aging? At least come for a free cup of coffee. Or come to game night. You can just eat. You don't have to play a game. You don't have to eat. You can just you can play the game, but don't eat. Just come. And I believe that when I see people at the St. Patrick's Day luncheon or any of the events that we have, I suspect one of the drivers for people to be there is to socialize with people. Not so much that they need a free meal. I have this bad perception that people think, oh, the Council on Aging, you go there when you're destitute, there's a free lunch, there's a meal on wheels, there's a meet the chef. If you don't have food, come there to eat. Well, that's possible, of course, but I think people are driven to socialize. And I go to these events and people are saving spots at tables for their friends, people they know and people they met for the first time. So I think that's pretty important. I think it's very important.
If I can just comment on Susan's Did You Know letter, she's also doing the Pitta Hall newsletter and asked me to put something together kind of like a Did You Know about the Council on Aging. So that's also, I would say, under her, that she's willing to help us reach out through the Pitta Hall newsletter.
With even more communication. And then she also suggested survey the community for needs and interests. We kind of did that. And 3 or 4 years ago, at least. And we have those survey results. The community was huge, the response was not so huge, as you suspect. I was told that that's kind of like what happens with surveys.
We also put that in the newsletter. If you want see something new from us, please let us know, or Kathy always mentions that when we're
Yeah.
doing different programs.
I'm for sure I shut this down.
And then Susan also said, ask other council on aging centers what they're doing for events and also to get more participation. So that's a good thought, to sort of reach out to them and pick their brains. And
We do. We
see what they're
actually
doing.
get a couple of their newsletters, so we're always picking through those. You always give us so.
Chris sent me an email. Essentially, she's saying if this really comes down to marketing, if there were more members on the board, Chris suggests that we could have a subcommittee to specifically work that issue. Or, barring that, other suggestions, and you've mentioned this before, Chris, too, reestablish Facebook page to share events and notifications. And that seems to be a popular tool among a lot of people, getting updates from Facebook. Print flyers and place them strategically, Market Basket, other frequented places. Cross-communicate with other council on agings, sort of hits on what Susan was talking about. And create an email version of the newsletter.
I do that.
Yes.
Build
It's actually the newsletter itself that I have an email list, and then it's also,
How do you populate the email list?
people tell me, I don't want it in print, can you email it to me? So I'm updating that list. I know you had talked to me about MailChimp or something else before.
Right, but how do people know, like, for example, I'm on the board, I don't even know. How do I get on that list?
I can probably add that to the newsletter.
Okay.
Okay.
Because that would be good. And with regards to the flyers, for example, again, I teach yoga at the West Newbury COA. Every single time I walk in there, they've got a table set with all of the upcoming events, different flyers for every single thing, so people can walk out with them and go, oh, there's a game night, there's a luncheon, there's a, whatever. So they're not just coming in to do the class with me, they automatically in their face have copies of everything that's coming up within
other
the next
available
month. Yeah.
things to do, yeah.
Do you do that at the Council on Aging or off-site? The class?
Oh, the class? It's at their town hall annex, which is,
Is that their Council on Aging site?
it's adjacent to
Adjacent
their
to,
council on
okay.
aging. So the town hall has an entire auditorium
Yeah.
that is used by the town for events, and the
Anything, yeah.
COA gets to use it.
Okay.
So when you walk in, again, it's like a basketball size
Yeah.
building, and they've got, one of these 8x4 or 2 tables, and then everything, there are flyers always there for whatever's coming up, as well as a copy of their newsletter.
Maybe what I can do is ask, and I don't know if I have to go to the rec committee or if I can go directly to town administrator, is ask for, how limited the space is there?
Right,
So I'm wondering if we
Very
could
much
put a
so.
bulletin board.
yeah.
I can ask about that.
That's a good idea. Great idea. Chris, those are all great ideas. Joyce,
I went down the wrong route.
you went down the wrong route.
Yes, I was basically trying to think of the different activities to do. And that was hard because they cover just about everything already. So I was coming up with a walking program. And, but that wouldn't work too well from here because there's no sidewalks along the road. I just checked that out. So, and also, there is a very good program that they have at Salem. Their instructors, and their teachers from the Salem State University Occupational Therapy. They do special talks on fall prevention, thriving in retirement, successfully living with low vision, and managing sleep, rest, and stress. And my third was meditation. So for some reason, my thought process did not go in the right place.
No, I like,
No.
these are
No,
good
those
things.
are good ideas. I mean, the different activity,
Right.
it was, I mean, it's a good idea because I think this pickleball activity has taken on a
Oh.
life of itself.
Mhm.
I
You
mean,
know,
there's 27 to 30 people interested in
Right.
doing that now, and it was even in the newspaper, I think. Recreation Committee had an article in the newspaper.
Right.
And, you know, Cindy's been working with Brad Smith and his wife Laura.
Nice.
They'll be our instructors.
Essentially teaching them how to play the game and what they need for resources. And John's trying to arrange use of tennis courts at Governor's Academy.
Yeah, once the kids go home, it'd be the summer break, we've got 3 months where, or 2.5 months where
And play outside and,
play outside and it's easy to, to refit a tennis court with pickleball.
Yeah, Brad was
Right.
talking about that. And it opens it up, not just for senior citizens, but for other athletic type citizens who want to, or I guess
Families.
pickleball is even good with famous, or not famous, but popular with children,
yes,
so.
The game was designed for children years ago, and it morphed into an adult sport, frankly, by osmosis watching. It allowed children to be able to play a game where tennis requires certain athletic elements, and it's a game that's difficult to master. Pickleball is not, and it evolved from a child's game and back up to an adult's game.
And there's no slamming of the ball as in tennis, I guess.
On the, I don't know if any of you on social media, there's I get an email on it a lot about Nextdoor. That's the name of the group, and it covers Plum Island, the one that I'm on, and the south part of Newburyport. And there was a woman that was new to the neighborhood, and one of her questions was a walking group. And they bring up different social events, and one woman wanted to know where she could take lessons in pickleball. So you're right, there's a lot of people out there looking to do things. And somebody referred this woman to the Newburyport Council on Aging because she was from Newburyport, which I thought was interesting, and said that they have lots of activities. But I had no idea how old she was, and I don't know if this other person did either, so.
as far as your walking program, the rec committee is trying to do more of a master plan, for lack of a better term, over at the Central Street playing fields. You know, they put in the basketball court, they have the field house there, they have so one of the things that they want to put in is a walking trail around those fields.
Oh, that's
So
great.
if they do that, that is
Great.
something that we would hook into, to have like a walking group meet over there. But you're right, the lack of sidewalks
Yes.
is a little,
And then I said,
concerning.
well, that was one good thing we did have at the Hanover site, sidewalks.
yeah.
So, but this is much nicer here.
Actually, my recollection is that walking program was, there were several suggestions on the survey that we did.
Could be,
Yeah.
yeah.
One of them would be buses stopping at the central parking lot at Plum Island and walk either north or south. Remarkable, my father used to call it forest bathing. Just get a horizon.
Yes.
And 90% of quality walking is having a horizon, get outdoors. And,
So good for the mental health.
That's something Kathy actually brought up too for the summertime, was to go over to Plum Island, meet at Pitta Hall.
Yep.
Because there are bathrooms there, we can have, cold water and whatnot.
Great
Go for a
idea.
walk around there.
Great
You
You
idea.
tied
There's
that in with
parking
a
there.
picnic event. Cindy, you tied that in with a picnic event one time, and Susan took us on a walking tour of the boardwalk on one of the trails on the
Yeah.
reservation,
We did.
which was,
But this is something Kathy wanted to do like once or twice a week all summer, was to meet at Pitta Hall.
Oh,
So
that's
I will
good.
talk to her more about that.
great.
One of the advantages, I think, of expanding the list to all age groups, all households, is that you can post a request for volunteers who know and have skills, and would you be willing to volunteer to teach and to coach, or to proctor, if you will, a walk, or somebody that's got some knowledge of everything from birds to wildlife and all the things that could promote.
All right. Mr. Bear, Chuck, any ideas?
I've been asked a couple months ago to look into a classic car show. And I thought it was a great idea because every time I go to one, I take a look at an old car. Hey, I used to have one of those, or I rode in one of those with my parents. And I just thought it would be a good remember when event. Number two, the Byfield Community Arts Center has a whole new board of directors. Maybe we could talk with them about putting on one night a month for a show. It's all new electronics, all new lighting, all new acoustics. It could be a really, really fun time to get together. I mean, and it could be for all ages.
Chuck, I think the gentleman who's taking over the role pitched at the select board.
Speak up.
The guy that took over the role of leading that group, I forgot his name, pitched to the select board Tuesday night. And he talked about what they did with lighting, acoustics,
Yes.
so on and so forth, and he seems really engaged. I mean, they put in pretty much a whole new crew there in terms of
Yep.
leadership, so that he may be very receptive to that. He's a Newbury person, a Triton graduate. They wanted him to introduce himself, and he went way back to when he graduated from Triton, almost by a year, so it was pretty interesting. Anything else?
Well, my third is more of a concern than it is an idea. We have a great place downstairs, paid for a while, but that time is going to go by in a blink of an eye. We need to seriously look. Do we ask the taxpayers to pay the high rent to stay here? Is the town hall going to stay here with it? Do we look for a cheaper place? Or do we look at regionalizing? So, as I say, my third's more of a concern than it is an idea, but without a place, all the ideas that we come up with are pointless.
Yeah, it's a good concern, because there is this sort of like deadline out in the future. And
So-
it has to cause some kind of an action. And you mentioned what those actions, what those reactions could be.
When does the lease expire?
I forget what year, but it was
I think it was a
allegedly
4.5
for 4.5
year.
years, but some of that time was during the construction period, so, when did you officially move in? When did we officially move in?
2022, so probably 2026.
Maybe by 2026, and
Although, does ARPA funds have to be spent by 2025? I can't remember, to be honest with you. I'd have to look at the dates. Sorry.
Yeah.
I think that was prepaid
That's-
at least.
yeah.
Adjunct to this discussion is yesterday I serendipitously ran into Eric Svan, who is on the building committee for 25 High Road. And
Poor man.
yeah, it's a difficult task. But he's the gentleman that walked the property with me at lunch and helped me scope out, as you indicated, the trails and where we could go. And if you go behind left field, most of left field is filled.
Yeah.
You drop down in there, you could ski off that hill. And we spotted 50 baseballs in there and tossed them all back up on the field and walking about. And yesterday, one of the comments I asked him, he's on the board also, the Newbury Museum, which is a marvelous take and has enormous programs. And I introduced him to the idea of maybe he's scouting the opportunity for the Council on Aging, a patch into High Street in the Newbury Museum, much like the Art Center. Tremendous opportunities, and they already have a very full battery of meetings scheduled. And if you go online and you read her executive director's report on once a month, brilliant stuff. Marvelous trip just in the reading, let alone getting into the building. But you know, we are to get Eric Svan engaged in your idea, Chuck. The idea of we need to now ramp up our
Yes.
exploration, and the noise for the 25 High Road. We need to be as vocal as they. There are two important projects leading forward to a remarkably interesting town. A lot of stakeholders, and we need to get to the front of the class and to begin discussing hard innings and get people like Bob Connors involved and then have a special element that speaks only to COA. And Eric's willing to do that.
So I think it's important to say and to realize that, I mean, the people on the board, we kind of feel that because of this when the ARPA funds run out, something has to happen, and we're not lobbying for a particular thing at this meeting. We're just putting out ideas on the table, okay, what possibilities they may have. And it's not our decision to make, obviously. It'll be up to the town management, select board, et cetera, et cetera.
But we can advocate for something. If we
Of course, yeah, of course. Mr. Jesperson.
I have a couple of different thoughts. One of the things that I find, in watching my folks' age is that finding things that are important for them to be doing as they have retired is huge. And so I don't know if we can connect with different volunteer organizations beyond the town. I know that we have, the town offers, you can volunteer and reduce your taxes. But I think finding meaning and making, they serve at a soup kitchen, and that gives them a great deal of joy. And so finding ways to connect people with jobs that they can do to help other people and continue to contribute to society, I think could be very rewarding for people. Because I feel, and we've already discussed this a little bit, isolation is one of the things that some people suffer from as they age. It's harder to move around, something I've experienced a lot recently. And so ways that people can continue to be a member of society and a contributing member of society rather than asking member of society, I think would be something, and I don't have a lot of good ideas about what that can be, but I think that is a good thing. Another thing is, I went to one of the game nights, and it was not just people with Council on Aging age, and I think finding other ways to connect across the age ranges, whether it's, you do a trash pickup with the school on Earth Day, so that there's older people and younger people working together on something, and ways to bridge the age divide so that people are working, multi-generationally, or playing or doing anything that is connecting across some of those boundaries, because we have things for young people, and we have things for middle-aged people, and we have things for adults, and we have things for the elderly, and I think crossing those boundaries can be very rewarding. Again, I guess to me, the isolation is the biggest danger for people as they age. And so those were two of the thoughts that I had, and then the other one kind of talks back to, how do we get some of the experts? We have the Audubon in town. We have all of these incredible, Spencer Pierce Little Farm, Old Town Hill, the museum. How do we get people engaged in the community that we have, given how many, this is an incredible historic area, and some of the history lives in some of these people that we're trying to get engaged. And so how do we make those connections more solid? So they're not very distinct ideas. I also think, we already do a mobility class, but really getting people to attend, especially my mother.
Those are excellent points.
Because
Yeah.
how many old timers that I talked to, and they had history. They never documented it, and it's now forgotten. That's a very good point, I like that.
I believe there are actually some videos on file with the town about maybe preserving the history of Newbury, where they interviewed people who were around, like, I can't remember the names, but they will talk about the way the town used to be and what happened and some of the so
Maybe
forth.
Dick Knight,
Yeah.
Mr. Lowe, and this was the information that we've lost over the years.
But I mean, I think what you brought up, Damon, about bridging that gap and orchestrating a council on aging event that gathers those people to bridge that gap and focuses on something of interest to them is great. And it's kind of like what John was suggesting as well, I think, with documentation going out. I mean, I like the idea of looking at people, eyeballing people to get them to talk about coming to an event or to do something, or having them at an event and trying to drum up interest.
And to Damon's point, I think I sent this to you, the socialization letter. This is a study written by a Dr. Ian Taylor out of Brigham Young, and he says exactly what you spoke to. Major study that he's signature to, that long-term social isolation increases risk of premature death by 30% plus. And he makes huge discussion of how men and women suffer differently, and females characteristically meet face to face, enjoy conversation, and create something out of the meeting. Men meet shoulder to shoulder and watch a game. Spend hours, don't say a word to each other. And that's disabling unto itself. So the idea of more active membership, boy on boy and girl, the idea is that elements that require that they actually accomplish something. Like you said, whether it be trash building or proctoring a trash pickup by children, and get a couple of guys to come face to face like the ladies.
Yeah. And it's not
Southia.
And it's not trivial to figure out how to do it, especially
No.
if we talk about things with multiple age range. If you go on a walk and you have an 8-year-old, a 16-year-old, and a 65-year-old, they're walking at radically different speeds. And so how to structure something so that everyone can be together is not always easy, but I think it's important.
So, just a comment and an observation, John, because what I hear again a lot of is we're trying to reach and serve people who are isolated, who are, again, may not be socially connected, who, again, might be indigent. And it begs to differ again, what is the mission of the COA? Who is the population that we serve? So if we serve everybody X over an age of whatever, 60, 55, I don't know what your threshold is, but I don't think we've ever gone through a definition of that, because you are going to reach them differently with different programs, depending on, again, who it is that we serve. And if we serve everybody over 65, then I can tell you that there is a lot of 65-year-olds who are very active and very social and very engaged, who laugh at me when I say something about being involved with the COA. Why? Because their perception is that, again, it's all about the people who are indigent, who need assistance with housing, who can't afford to get out, who are isolated, who are sickly. So maybe we start by trying to define, again, mission, audience, who we serve, and then develop certain programs for those, because it's not all one fits all.
Yeah,
Right,
it's not a
that's
monolith.
right, that's right.
But
You know? And so the question for me is, I would take a look and say, okay, we've got a good population of folks who are coming to these programs, the game nights, the exercises, the this, that, and the other thing. Who are we not reaching, and how do we get those people involved? And there might be, again, a lot of 65-year-olds who are not athletic, that are not into pickleball. I'm not saying that they don't, because I want to try that, but, you know,
Me too.
who do we get in the town that might be 65 that aren't athletic, and what type of activities do we get them involved in?
You could knock on the door at Lowell Boat Shop and get the director to open up. I made that proposal to the governors because the typical post-school, after-school report is basketball, football, track, what have you. Not everybody is an athlete. And I introduced equestrian aspect for Eric's daughter, actually. And the element of Lowell Boat Shop. And now kids go over there and they learn how to build a surf skiff from scratch. The stuff that Aussies use to plow through 50-foot waves, and with great pride. And think about older men with old skills, as you said, reaching back to memories from yesteryear,
Yeah.
to go out and together, 3 or 4 guys, build a boat, which they may never ride in, may never, you know, run into the surf with, but what pride in having that thing just launch on the Merrimack River. What a spectacular method of men and women using their hands in an artful manner and watching a successful launch. And whomever buys it, because I think the director sells all of those to people. Most of it's done by order, not by spec. And
Begs the question, how do you identify those? Because if they're isolated, how are we gonna know?
well,
I'm curious.
you expand the list to every single taxpayer household, 1 letter only, and expand the mission statement that I sent you, which incorporates all of those people. And if that's worth relooking, I'm happy to redial this and write it as much in consult with you as possible, so that we expand it and it includes each and every person in the community, all 3 of them. Old, middle-aged, infirm, not infirmed, etc.
But I think there's a very good point to how people perceive themselves. You know, I was a number of years ago doing triathlons, and a friend of mine suggested I join the Masters team over in Ipswich. And Masters just means you're over 30. I thought it meant you were really good at swimming, because that's how I read Masters. And I think there may be some of the same perception issues with the Council on Aging, is that it's for only the indigent, and getting people to be involved in the programming, A, as helpers when they start, so that they're already keyed into it by the time, you know, should they age here and need it, or making things that are appropriate for people who don't have any particular needs, but, you know, would be good to have them engaged with the council just to get more involvement. So I think there's trying to see if we can shake that perception.
Well, I think this is where you come up with your elevator statement. So for example, if all of you are talking to people, if somebody says, you know, well, what's the Council on Aging do, or what is it? What's the 25 words or less that you say?
Yeah, what's the elevator speech?
Yeah,
What
that's a
what
good
is
idea.
that?
Well, I mean, I'm gonna try to cap this now, and I mean, there's a lot of super ideas. And I don't think that this is the forum at 9 o'clock once a month, we're gonna solve it. I think we're gonna have to try to come together, not in a meeting type situation, just a engagement of people's brains to talk about this stuff and to strategize and then to do something, to actually do the work. John, I'm not opposed to folding 6,000 copies of a flyer once a month to mail it out, but I still have to finish my homework, finding a machine to fold our monthly program that goes out. So hey, thanks for those ideas. And in line with what you said, Mr. Ferrara, the 3 women actually read the homework assignment, and they emailed me their ideas, which was the homework assignment, before the meeting. The 3 males chose to speak about it here, not documented. So I think what you said is probably true.
Probably true, yeah.
Probably true.
And for that, I apologize to you, lad.
No apology needed. The 3 of you are on academic probation.
All right.
blow your mind? Okay.
So I really don't have any chairperson's report, other than to say, it's contradictory. The St. Patrick's Day event was awesome. I think people really had a good time. I think the food was great, the entertainment was good, and people were happy. I mean, people were generally happy, okay? And I think just to see that is very rewarding. I know in this town, if you had a spreadsheet of the population histograms, you'd see that people 45 and up to whatever, the bulk of the population is skewed to the right, to the older people. And if you look to the left, you know, there aren't that many young people actually coming into the town. So I think that posturing the Council on Aging, or the Senior Citizen Center, as it's called on Cape Cod, is pretty important to assimilate this growing population of people who are going to hopefully need something, or not hopefully need something, but need entertainment, need socialization, need whatever they think they need. And if we can provide it, I think we'll self-actualize it if we can provide it to them. The director's report.
So I just wanted to highlight, we have the Gordon College Center for Balance coming later this week on the 23rd at 1 o'clock. That is something that has come here before, but we find it important to kind of reiterate to people the importance of balance, you know, preventing falls and whatnot at home. So to speak to one of you talking about the bringing in expertise, that's one way that we're doing that. The Delvina Theater Group is coming next Monday. They're going to present Meet Julia Child. That's usually a pretty well-attended event. We also have on Monday the AARP Tax Aid. This is a first for us. Normally we send people to Newburyport or Georgetown or other areas, but we reached out to them and said, listen, instead of us sending people elsewhere, is there anything you can do here? So they gave us 1 day. They have 3 volunteers. I still have a couple of spots left. So if people are interested, please give me a call. That is something that needs to be by appointment only. As Bill said, the St. Patrick's Day was a huge success. We did that for the first time last year. We'll continue that again next year. It seems to be a big hit. Our newsletter has arrived. We are waiting for our calendar inserts and then an insert on pickleball that I am having printed at Minuteman Press. So once those come in, we will start stuffing and folding. And then, as always, we do need volunteer meat drivers. So
Cynthia, you always get extra copies of the stuff from Minuteman Press. Maybe it might be a good idea to have the pickleball part of it put out on the table to Council on Aging, like Chris was saying. That if someone comes in and sees that, they can walk away with it.
Yep. So yeah, we always keep a copy of the newsletter with the calendar at the front desk. So we'll add, and we have our bulletin board too. And then I will work on getting a bulletin board at the field house. I'm not sure who like I said, I don't know who I need to go through to get that, but I'll work on that. We also bring stuff to the library. We put it at the town clerk's office. We hadn't been putting things at local businesses simply because during COVID, no one could put anything out. And I'm not sure what businesses are doing now. We can always look into that. Like at the butchery, for example, can we leave some information there? I'm sure even at your doctor's office, you notice they don't have.
They'll let you put it up on the board.
Okay, so
You
we'll
can
ask.
pin it to the board if it's,
Okay.
an alert or something like that.
Okay, so we'll ask about that.
Yeah.
And then one of the new things that we're doing in the April-May newsletter is a creative writing group. So you guys were talking about history and whatnot. This is kind of a way for people to pass their history on. It's a very simple group initially to start. We're going to see how it goes. But might be a great way for people to
When are you
write down their
what
memories.
day and hour would that be?
So I'll have to look at the calendar. I don't have it right in front of me, but I want to say the woman who is running that group was available for 3 days in April, but it is in the middle of the day. So this is the other problem with trying to reach that younger group of people.
You're working.
So technically we serve people who are 60 plus. Many people who are 60 are still working full time. Or even if they're older, they have grandchildren that they're taking care of. Or there's a million reasons why they can't come to us during the hours that we're available. That's why we asked to increase our hours on Tuesday night to match town hall to try and reach another group of people that we weren't reaching during the day. Because 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. is the same time a lot of them are working or caring for a grandchild because their children are working. There's a million sort of caveats. So we do try to offer different programs that are particularly educational. We get people, we've done Tuesday evening events that was a will estate planning, that kind of thing. We had an attorney come and talk about that. We had a whole group of people that we never even met before, and they came to that program because they were interested in that expertise. We have, when we try and do these sort of learning programs, we try and do them on a Tuesday evening to capture as many people as possible. So, and then just to speak about the volunteer piece and like the multi-generational thing, we've been trying to do that. We had a couple of Triton students and they wanted to come and volunteer. And they were available to come at 3:30 in the afternoon on certain days, and it was not a Tuesday. So we close at 4. So any program we have does not start at 3:30. And then everyone has sports or jobs after school, like trying to fit in, and then we're closed on Fridays. Like trying to get the schedules all to work, it's an incredibly difficult puzzle. So please know that we're working on trying to do intergenerational things. It's just not as easy to coordinate, so.
I don't think it's trivial at all.
No.
I just think it's good when it can work.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And of course, on the other side of it is the alternative to change the hours from 9 to 4 to 12 to something. It's just an idea. I mean,
And you think the staff will
I'm not.
go for backfill?
I don't know. I probably
Because that
not.
changes everybody's life,
Probably
you know,
not.
to
I mean, you
start
know,
a job at 12 in the afternoon.
It makes one issue go away.
Right.
Creates an issue for people
Right.
at work, perhaps, but there's
So
other ways to solve it.
it's a puzzle for sure,
Yeah,
and it's all
sure.
the same color, and you have to fit the pieces. You can't just go by the color, you know? So
Yeah.
we're working on it, but we'll keep
Maybe
doing
that would
it.
require a core of trusted volunteers to take the keys at 4 and stay.
I don't think I'm
I-
allowed to do
I
that.
don't think you,
To not have
the lawyers,
staff there.
the lawyers wouldn't allow that.
Liability, yeah.
No, I was thinking of changing the hours of the staff, so they would be there to lock the place up, but anyway, just an idea. Anything else, Cindy?
No, I think that's it.
Okay. Does anyone have anything they'd like to bring up in terms of new business, other than what we talked about, essentially kind of new business ideas? Anyone? Okay, I think we'll establish April 10th as the next meeting. It sounds like it's gonna happen pretty quickly.
I'm
because
sorry,
this
did
was
you say
kind-
the 10th?
The 10th, yeah, because this was kind of late, this meeting was late due to the Monday holiday. April 10th.
Usually later in the month.
So April 17th, I believe, is Patriots' Day, so the town offices are closed that day. So I think that's probably why you bumped it to the 10th.
Why should it be the week after Patriots Day,
That's the 24th.
24th? Probably the 24th,
That we want to do?
yeah. So, can I have a motion to establish that date?
To hold a meeting on April 24th at 9.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Great. And a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second, anyone?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thanks, everybody. You put some great ideas out today.